So you have your Northwest region, you have your Northeast, Southwest, Southeast, out of state. Each region has their goal to make up what would, in total would be $2.5 million.
They're a great group of girls. They work hard. You know, we're young, we're learning every day, but they have really come together. The culture's awesome. It's been a lot of fun. Yeah, year two's been great.
I think I'd be cheating the universe if I didn't somehow get back to that, get back to the athletics program, get back to student athletes.
Welcome into this week's edition of the Inside WSU Athletics Podcast. As always, thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for joining us another week and another packed episode. Plenty to get to here. We're excited for our guests on this episode. We'll have Josh Jordan, Assistant Athletic Director for Development here at WSU, Women's Golf Head Coach Kevin Tucker, and Wade Hogg, Ultimate Coug, will be stopping by. And a big thank you, as always, to our sponsor of the podcast, BECU. And we welcome in, as we always do, Jon Haarlow. And Jon, since we last talked, big news, the Pac-12 releasing the football schedule. I love the creativity with how that news was released and announced to Cougs. It's an exciting time to be able to share that news and just to think about all the fun times ahead in the fall.
Yeah, it is. Chris, good to see you as always. It was exciting to see that we're finally back into a conference. The fact that we can release a conference schedule feels really darn good. Good to be back with the Pac-12 in that. It was a fun release, something we had talked about weeks ago, to get current Cougs and former Cougs involved in that. We have such a great group of alumni that are always willing to do things like that for us if we reach out. A big shout out to Dayton, who leads our football creative efforts in putting that together. He does tremendous work. And so it was neat to see that. And the reception from our fan base was really good. We're always trying to make sure that how do we draw past the present, get into fun, creative ways. And I think that one was fun to execute. You know, it's nice to be able to point to some dates and solidify some things for the fall. I think we've got some really exciting home games that our fan base can be thrilled, excited to be at like some matchups that we can finally point to on an annual basis that we know are going to be happening. With that said, you know, a schedule isn't perfect. It's my job as an administrator to fight and advocate for what I think is best for our program, and protect them in such a way. And Coach Moore and his staff they've got the mentality of, you know, we're ready to lace them up, strap up anywhere, anybody, anytime. But it's my job to advocate for what I believe is best for our program. And I've certainly, you know, had conversations with the Pac-12, advocated for what I wanted to see there, and what they choose to do with it from there is their prerogative. But I certainly voiced my thoughts in what was hopeful to see in the schedule. One of the things, you know, that's a challenge for us is that home game around Thanksgiving weekend here. That's tough here in Pullman, and I've advocated for that, and I have expressed my thoughts in that because we realize it's a challenge. We listen. We also observe at the challenge that's been the last couple of years that we've had that here. And, you know, we want to make sure that the fans understand that we hear that, and we have had conversation with the league about what we can do to make sure that we're creating an environment that's good for our fans. We know that the break for the students during that time, we know it's tough. The weather's sketchy over the pass during that time too. It's tough to get to. And so continue to have conversations about what I feel that should look like moving forward. And so, I want to make sure that we address that because it's tough. And, we got to figure out how we make that work and what we can do moving forward on those. But again, it's something we recognize is a challenge for us here.
And then fans now have those dates. They can start marking their calendars, planning out their trips. But still in the near future here, we've got one of the social events that just happened and still one coming up on tap.
Yeah, so last Thursday, I think that it was, we had the opportunity to go up to Spokane, the Swinging Doors. What a incredible night we had there. Wonderful Cougs. I mean, that place was jam-packed. Coach Moore and some of our staff work in the room, having great conversations. It was wonderful to see our fans show up in droves. They do. And they're so engaging when we get an opportunity to get in front of them. So that's been fun to see. I have to advocate, because I always put plugs in for whatever kind of food I had when I was there. I had a gigantic plate of nachos to close out the evening there before the trek back to Pullman. They were top notch. They were really, really good. Heard a lot of good feedback on the other food there as well. This Thursday, February 19th, we're going to be in Camas at, make sure I get the times right here, 5:30 to 7:30 at Taps at Oak Tree Station. So myself will be there, some of our staff, and then certainly Coach Moore will be there as well. More conversations, more feedback, more discussions around everything Cougs, and get people more excited for the fall.
So many great Cougs in that Camas, Greater Vancouver, Portland area. That's going to be a ton of fun. And speaking of getting out, the football team had a chance to get out and have a team outing up in Spokane for a Spokane Chiefs game last Saturday. How did everything go with that?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and Coach Moore was gracious enough to invite me along. It's always wonderful to be able to spend time with our student athletes in that, for all the stuff that we deal with as an administration, most of it not very glamorous, to be quite honest with you. But whenever we get opportunities to be around the student athletes and get them in spaces like that, that's what makes this so fulfilling and so fun. So we went up there, took the bus, went up that direction. We all got to kind of sit in similar sections. The group seemed to get pretty animated when there was some scrappiness, when there was potentially some scuffles to be had, but it was super fun to talk hockey. Football players, not all of them were necessarily familiar with the game, so it was fun to kind of explain some of those. Unfortunately, the Chiefs dropped that one 3-2, I think was the final score, to the Wenatchee Wild, but they were wonderful hosts to us up there. Again, top-notch food. Saw a lot of different snacks being consumed by the student athletes up there, and the staff, and myself. So, but fun to get the student athletes out in an environment like that and just kind of have some fun.
Love it. That is great to hear. Well, it has been another packed week. So let's recap what has happened, what's to come with Cougar Athletics. Men's basketball had a tough one up at Gonzaga last week, but coming up, these will be the final 2 home games of the season. Can't wait to see everyone at Beasley. First up, Wednesday against Pacific. That starts at 6:30. Then Saturday, St. Mary's will be in town. 7 o'clock start time for that game. Women's basketball, they dropped a close one against Portland. This week, they're at Gonzaga Thursday, 6 o'clock tip-off up at the Kennel, and at Oregon State, that's a 1 p.m. start time at Gill Coliseum in Corvallis. Again, that game is Saturday. Track and field, they competed at the Husky Classic last weekend in Seattle. They had a small contingent of runners that are going to head to Arkansas for a last chance qualifier before the MPSF Indoor Championship. That's in Reno, coming up March 1st through the 2nd. Tennis, they lost at BYU and Utah last week. This week, Cougar Tennis is at home against Portland State Friday at 11 a.m. Then they'll face Montana and Montana State. That's in a doubleheader on Sunday starting at 10 a.m. Swimming will head to the Mountain West Conference Championships in Houston. That will run Wednesday through Saturday of this week. Women's golf, we'll have more on women's golf coming up. Excited to talk with Kevin Tucker a little bit later on in the episode. Women's golf opened its season at the Mountain Classic Match Play event, going 2-1 in 3 matches. This week will be at the Westbrook Invitational in Arizona beginning Sunday. And then baseball, we talked baseball just recently on the podcast. The season got started down in Tuscaloosa. That was Friday. What a way to begin the campaign. An 8-4 victory over Alabama caught the attention of national baseball media. Alabama ended up taking the series 2-1, but a great way to get things started on Friday with that win over the Crimson Tide. The team will return to the road with a 4-game series. It will be at head coach's Nathan Choate's alma mater at Cal Poly. And then men's golf, their spring season underway last week, finishing 12th at the John Burns Intercollegiate in Hawaii. This week, they were at the Prestige in California. So a lot going on, and just a fun time when you think about so many sports that are in action right now.
Yeah, pretty incredible every week when you name all of those different contests off, all the different student athletes that we're sending all over the country for competition. I want to call a couple things out during that, Chris, just as a reminder. We have men's basketball home Wednesday and Saturday. Last opportunity to see them at home this year, so hope to see all sorts of folks here. Tennis, Friday and Sunday, I believe, here in Pullman. I'm going to be out there as well. My family goes to those. They're fun to be around. They're an intimate environment there. So just encourage everybody to come out there and watch those games. And then on baseball, you mentioned it, but what an awesome way to open up the season starting there. Coach is certainly never content with anything other than a W, but I'll say it for him. I thought a lot of positive things coming out of that weekend. A lot of good, solid arms, a lot of hitting, a lot of situational hitting, a lot of situational pitching there too. I think I would have liked to have seen what would have happened if we would have played, Friday, Saturday, Sunday versus the doubleheader Saturday. It puts you in a bit of a different situation with your arms, what you can do there coming off of Friday's usage. But I'm excited. Cal Poly is a good team too. That's going to be another really good series that they have there. But excited what they have in the spring. It's going to be good. Always a reminder. I have to do it. Season tickets and single game tickets for baseball are on sale. So a reminder to folks, want to see everybody out there, Bailey Brayton here in a few short weeks.
Yeah, that will be here before we know it, and can't wait. With that, coming up, we'll have our first guest on this week's episode, Josh Jordan. But first, a word from our sponsor, BECU.
How do you spot a Coug in the wild? Head to toe crimson, gray, and, well, anything except purple? A simple go Cougs at an airport halfway around the globe? Or maybe just a little pride from BECU and some extra money in your pocket when you pay for your tacos. Get the card Cougs everywhere recognize. Join today. BECU. Go Cougs.
We're excited to bring in our first guest on this week's episode. John, can you tell us who we have stopping by with us here today?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. We're joined now by Assistant Athletic Director for Development, Josh Jordan. Josh, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, guys. It's an honor to be here. So looking forward to our conversation.
Well, Josh and his team have been extraordinarily busy. Grateful for what you and your group has done. Solidified all the gifts for the Fan Experience Project. That was a pretty tremendous lift in a short amount of time. Heroic efforts by what you all have done. And you do it while you're smiling. So I appreciate that out of you and your team always. So grateful for you, Josh. We just talked about that as raising funds for capital projects like improvements at Giesa Field. Talk about maybe how initiatives have changed in fundraising over the last, how they're different from now versus what they were 2 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been here about 7 years now. So I've kind of seen a lot of projects go through from the start to finish here at WSU. When I first got here, I think the thing that we were most focused on was capital giving, right? So you saw the Taylor Sports Complex go up, you saw the Champion Center go up, you saw renovations to both the volleyball areas, you saw baseball complex go up, right? So we were heavily focused in on capital giving. We've now shifted a little bit, right? So as we kind of move into this new area, because of the house settlement and different things like that, it's opened up, a different focus for us. And we are now headed towards, NIL, sports specific giving, I think is really kind of the areas where we're trying to hit at this point.
Yeah, well said. It has been a complete shift, really, not just for us specifically, but for the industry at large. I mean, NIL is such a crucial lifeblood to what we're able to do as far as recruiting and retaining Cougs, and appreciative of the efforts that you and the team have put in on that thus far. With that, kind of explain, we've launched Rally Your Region here, something that super proud of what you and the group did to put that together and think through that. But talk through what the purpose of it is and how people can get involved.
Yeah, so Rally Your Region is the title of the campaign. So it's kind of a fun way to challenge your friends, right? So this campaign is broken up to 5 different regions, 4 in-state, 1 out-of-state. So you have your Northwest region, you have your Northeast, Southwest, Southeast, out-of-state. Each region has their goal to make up what in total would be $2.5 million. So it's a $2.5 million campaign. This is all a focus on football NIL, so football sports-specific giving, right? So each region, again, has a total that we will essentially be able to utilize for matching gifts, kind of make this fun challenge between, if you're in the Seattle region, you can challenge your buddies in Spokane. If you're in Spokane, you can challenge your buddies down in Walla Walla, Portland, Vancouver, some of those areas. And then again, some of the people that maybe we haven't always seen, kind of your out-of-state folks, we want you to be involved too. So it's a really unique way to get people involved, kind of narrowing in kind of where we're headed, again, going from capital to more sport-specific giving. So you'll see updates on our website every Monday, going and again, challenging each other to get to our totals. which will eventually get you, some bonuses, some different things you can win, some different areas that you can actually get involved with naming with our football locker room. So some different areas, some unique ways to donate and kind of get some different incentives to kind of back that.
So it's underway. It's launched. It's out there. We've seen some activity with it thus far, which is pretty exciting to see. Remind me, maybe you said it and I missed it, but the total value of this to reach our goal here. Remind me of that amount again.
$2.5 million. So yep, and this could be a long process too. We're not saying, hey, this has to be done next week. Obviously, if it is, more power to our donor base, right? But
yes.
We understand that this is kind of a stepping stone, and really we want everybody to be involved. I think that's the thing that is missed along the way is those folks that can give $50 or $100 or whatever that looks like. That all can go towards your region. Again, to be able to challenge other people in other regions to be able to just get involved.
And we saw this when the transfer portal was open, with the impact of what NIL makes in real time. And that's something that we want to continue to be able to see in years moving forward. And that's why this is so crucial, to be able to attract that talent, retain the talent that we have, and just continue to develop those Cougs through the system. It's exciting to see that. You can feel the energy and it's palpable. I won't ask you to give any sort of prediction on what region you think is going to win the day here, but it will be super exciting to see where we are with that, because you can hear the rumblings and some of the stops that we've had. You can hear the rumblings in the regions about the excitement there, and all Cougs like a good challenge, right? So remind folks again where they can get involved and how they can give.
Yeah, so if you go to our CAF website, you'll see where the link to be able to click on, and then when you click on that link, it'll take you to a page that essentially is broken up in those 5 regions. You will just select what region you want to give towards, and we will utilize that on the back end to be able to count towards your region's goal. So yeah, I know you don't want to hear exactly what our household's going to be doing, but we have a split household. So my wife, who is a Coug, is from the Tri-Cities, so she will be donating to the Southeast region. Me being a Northwest guy, I'm from the Edmonds, Washington area, so we'll be donating from the Northwest region. Split household.
I like that. Even some household competition there. I like that. So as a reminder, these are tax-deductible gifts that can be made towards football, NIL, trying to make it as easy as possible to get involved and for you to see the impact of where your giving is going. You'll see it on the field in the fall. Josh, I'm grateful for what you and the team are doing. Keep it up, my man. Thanks for joining us today.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Again, a big thanks to Josh. And coming up, we will be talking more about WSU women's golf. That will be right after this.
How do you spot a Coug in the wild? Head to toe crimson, gray, and, well, anything except purple? A simple go Cougs at an airport halfway around the globe? Or maybe just a little pride from BECU and some extra money in your pocket when you pay for your tacos. Get the card Cougs everywhere recognize. Join today. BECU. Go Cougs.
Looking forward to getting all caught up on some Cougar golf here. John, can you tell us who we have joining us today?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. We're joined by head women's golf coach, Coach Kevin Tucker. Coach, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. Excited.
So we started the season last week, match play event down in Palm Desert. If memory serves, I think you took two of three matches down there. You happy with that start?
Yes. We took 2 or 3 matches. We played Weber State, Montana State, and Utah Valley State. Beat Weber State, lost to Montana State, and then beat Utah Valley State in the third place match. Overall, I think it was a pretty good start to the year. It's you never know what you're going to get in that first one coming out of winter. And I thought the girls played well and did a nice job of handling themselves on the golf course. And, we didn't play best in our second round, but we made a really nice comeback in the third round. That was really good to see.
And you always travel to such awful places. So I appreciate all the sacrifices that you and the team make there. It seems like there's been more and more match play format here in the last couple of years. Maybe that's just an observation, but do you like that format? Have you seen that? There've been more and more of that throughout the season over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think it's becoming more common. it's a unique format. We don't see it a lot, but that's how our national championship is decided. So I think a lot of teams are kind of moving to that in the regular season just to get a feel for it. Some conference championships even do that as well. So I think it's going to become more and more common throughout the year, but it's a really exciting format of golf. You never know what can happen. Anybody can beat anybody on any given day. And just when you think you have some momentum going, like, some of your players might lose 1 or 2 holes and then it just flips back. It was a really fun event. I think the girls really enjoyed it as well.
Can you give Coug fans an idea about the team this year? Can you describe the squad that you have?
Yeah. We have a pretty small squad right now. We have 6 players. 1 senior, Hannah Harrison, 1 junior, Sarah Paneros, 2 sophomores, Agnes Brink and Grace Rabelski, and then two freshmen, Anya Sato and Caitlin Helm. They're a great group of girls. They work hard. We're young, we're learning every day, but they have really come together. The culture's awesome. It's been a lot of fun. Yeah, year 2's been great.
You were a WSU student athlete in the mid-2000s. How did you end up becoming a Coug, and what was the best part of playing here at WSU?
Yeah, well, I've been a Coug pretty much my whole life. I grew up in the Tri-Cities. I've been a Coug fan since I was probably 5 years old. And a lot of my friends who were older than me growing up went to WSU, so I just kind of always knew that this was the right place for me. And I was fortunate enough to receive a golf scholarship here, and I loved every second of it. I think my favorite part was just, getting to know my teammates and really coming together. It was like a brotherhood here. We had a lot of fun, played a lot of good golf. But yeah, every second, every year, it was just the best.
That's pretty awesome. Love to hear Coug stories during your student athlete time. Did you have a post-grad, once you wrapped up here at WSU, did you continue on with your playing career?
I did. Yeah, I played 7 years of professional golf, played the Canadian Tour for 4 years, had a little bit of success, and then after that I kind of bounced around some of the mini tours, and then I worked down in Arizona in the winter. I was caddying at a club out there.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
And as a coach now, it certainly can't hurt to recruit kids here with a nationally rated course, as well as the newer indoor practice facility.
Yeah, Palouse Ridge is amazing. It opened my junior year of college, so I got to experience that when I was here, and it was a game changer for our program then, and it still is now today. The players love it. It never gets old. It plays different every day, so we love it. Having it right here in our backyard. And our indoor facility is awesome as well. We had some major upgrades a couple of years ago. Have 2 TrackMan bays, a beautiful putting green, and then even through this winter, we upgraded some of our TrackMan units, and I think it's one of the best in the country. It's just Pullman's kind of hidden. A lot of golfers don't know about Pullman, Washington, and we're in the north, and then we get some snow, so it is hard to get players here. But once they are here in Pullman and see everything we have to offer, they just fall in love.
You detailed some what your journey was like after you left WSU as a student athlete. Well, when did you ultimately decide that coaching was the path for you?
I decided in 2017 that I wanted to get into coaching. So Dustin White, the head men's coach, he tried to hire me back in 2014, and I just wasn't ready to give up the dream of making the PGA Tour. But it was always in the back of my mind that if I didn't continue on with my golf career, that I wanted to get into coaching. And there was no other school in the country that I wanted to get started at and coach at than my own school, WSU. So I'm just extremely blessed to be here and be able to give back to these student athletes.
Coach, you spent 6 seasons as an assistant for the men's program. Maybe talk through some of the differences between coaching the men's program versus coaching the women's program.
Yeah, there's definitely some differences. No, I think the game is played a little bit differently. Like guys, they just get up and hit it as hard as they can and try to go find it and play from there. Where the girls, are a little bit more strategic in the way that they play. So I've had to adjust on that a little bit, and it took me some time for sure in that first year. But other than that, I would say the conversations and the van rides are certainly different, and the types of music that we listen to are certainly different as well. But it's been a blast. I love my time with the men's team. We did a lot of great things, but, coming over to the women's team last year, it's just been all I can ask for and more.
What are your thoughts on the new Pac-12?
I love it. I'm obviously sad with everything that happened in the old Pac-12. I played in the Pac-12 myself. but this new conference I think is going to be great for golf. The old Pac-12, playing against Stanford and Oregon and SC, it was pretty tough. That's 1, 2, 3 in the country right there. So this new Pac-12, we're still a great, strong golf conference, but I think it gives us a legitimate chance to go win a conference title, or at least contend year in, year out.
I'm going to go back to your previous answer there. I'm absolutely of the mindset of hit it as hard as you can and then go find it. Mm-hmm. Usually that costs me several sleeves of balls throughout a round. So
it's the
if I can find
part, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Maybe just an overall, because you're a Coug through and through, and you've been here. What does it mean to you to be a Coug?
It's kind of I've thought about that a lot, and it's kind of hard to put into words, but it's just, it's all about something that's bigger than you. It's about the community. It's about Pullman. And until you experience it, I guess, nobody really understands it. And I'm still trying to put it into words today, but all I can say is WSU is probably the most special place in the world. And it gave me the best 4 years of my life as a student athlete.
Well said, Coach. Well said.
Totally well said. And there's no better way to wrap up the interview than with that. Appreciate the time. Thanks so much for spending a few minutes with us here today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Go Cougs.
Go Cougs.
Well, again, we appreciate Coach stopping by, and one more conversation coming up. That will be right after this. Well, we are excited to welcome in our next guest. And at the very top of the podcast, we described our next guest as the ultimate Coug. And Jon, I don't know if it gets any better than that as an introduction.
No, and I believe it rings true. So we're pretty excited to be joined now by a Coug through and through, Mr. Wade Hogg. Wade, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, great to be here, guys. I don't know if I'm the ultimate Coug, but I like to think that I put a lot of love towards Washington State and the athletic programs there.
100% you do. Our staff feels it. Our coach feels it. Our coaches feel it. Student athletes do as well. Maybe talk us through that, where your journey with the Cougs, your relationships there. You've been a Coug all your life. Maybe talk us through how that relationship started.
Well, the relationship with Washington State really happened with my father. He was given a football scholarship out of junior college in early 60s, and he went ahead and came up there and graduated with his degree in communications as well as his master's. And he kind of gravitated towards our family business for a long time, never really going into using the things he learned at the Murrow College because we had a need back with our family business. And I grew up a Coug my entire life. Growing up in Southern California, I know we're all destined to hate the Huskies when we come to Pullman and do everything. But I grew up hating USC, I think, more than the Huskies, just because we were down in that area. But my dad was a big supporter of athletics, and my dad felt, along with another teammate of his, a gentleman named Glenn Baker, that if you were successful, you should pay back the university in your day's dollars of when you were there. And that's kind of what my dad did early on. It wasn't so much monetarily supporting them, but it was through working with the Murrow College, doing the old Wazoo video. I'm sure you guys have seen it. The Cougar Pride song you had playing the other day was the intro to that. Doing those things. And as he got later on in life, he started financially helping athletics, as well as the University of Idaho as well, where my grandpa on my mom's side played, because he felt it was important to put into the system that helped him out, that helped him be successful, that helped me be successful. And when he passed away in 2015, it was just kind of my natural arc to go ahead and take over and do what he had been doing with athletics and with, with education there, as far as the Murrow College and those things. And so that's how I kind of, like I said, been a Coug all my life. There's been some great times. It's been enjoyable for sure. I think the biggest memory, we have a lot of them recently, but I was in the stadium at Pasadena. I believe it was 1987 when the Bruins were ranked, where they ranked number 1 in the country, and we knocked them off right at the end. It was great. You see all these pom-poms going in that stadium. Of course, it was packed, nothing like it was now. And you want to talk about just like someone put, I don't know, just a nail in a tire, just deflated that place instantly. And I think that's probably one of my best memories of Washington State.
Yeah, that's awesome. You've got such a special connection to the Cougs. Why is it that you continue? You talked about what your father had done there. Why was it so important for you and your wife, Emily? You've been so generous to Cougar Athletics to continue to be that. Why do you have? What is your why around Cougar Athletics and your support there?
Well, I think everybody has a different story. I think mine is that I'm very much aware that I'm not a self-made guy. My education at Washington State helped me out. My relationships at Washington State helped me out. My father's relationships and education at Washington State helped me out. And I think I'd be cheating the universe if I didn't somehow give back to that, give back to the athletics program, give back to student athletes, the men and women that are coming through today and earning the scholarships at Washington State University that we all help to support. They're hopefully creating someone like me for tomorrow, and they will and do the same. I just feel that, like my dad, Washington State was a huge part of our being able to be successful, for things working well for us, and becoming the people we are today.
Yeah, that's a wonderful message. Talk about maybe what your thoughts are on the changes of college athletics as we've seen the transition in the NIL era, post-House settlement. Maybe talk us through some of the changes and what your thoughts are there.
It's tough. Full transparency. You guys all know that I'm a founding board member of the Cougar Collective, something a few of us got together and out of necessity created. It's definitely different. Athletics is ever evolving. The amateur landscape is ever evolving. It's a lot different. I guess I'm becoming the age where I wish it was like it used to be. I hate to admit that. But it's just something that we have to adjust to, that we have to get used to, really. The world's a different place than it was when I was at Washington State, when my father was at Washington State. There's different scenarios. I don't think anybody imagined some of the technological advances, back in the day when the idea of a scholarship and the NCAA and everything else would be set up, that, guys would be part of a video game on a phone that would be, using their likeness. So is it helping? I don't know. I don't know that it's helping. I don't know that it's hurting. I just know that it's changing the landscape of college athletics. What I worry about is that it's going to change the landscape of amateur athletics. We all know that the revenue generating sports, football mainly, basketball, some baseball at a lot of schools, a lot of those athletes are really doing well as far as financial compensation for what they do. But what they also got to remember too is a lot of those programs pay for all the other programs. And going forward, we don't want to lose those programs where we're paying for our education with our wares, and being an amateur. That's the only worry, is I don't know how that works out, as we're always in towards grabbing the most money for advertising dollars and everything else. Are we remembering that this is really about kids that pay for their education with what they can do, whether it be an academic scholarship, whether it be athletic scholarship? They're earning their education with their abilities, and we don't want to take away from that.
It's an ever-evolving industry and landscape, and it's where we have to make sure as a department and university that we're continuing to stay nimble and agile so we can adjust to make sure we're meeting what the industry is, and we can continue to drive forward as a competitive opportunity to still provide education through that time as well. So let's switch into some fun, maybe a little bit. If you've been to a Cougar football game day, it's hard to miss your RV right there at the corner of Ferdinand's Lane and Stadium Way. It's the spot to be at there in RV1 or to drop by. There's always something going on there. How long have you been tailgating there in RV1, Wade?
Tailgating in RV1, I believe it's since 2015. I took over my dad's pass course when he passed away. The front corner, that was that's been a recent. It's probably been about 4 seasons now. There was a gentleman that we nicknamed the Music Man, Del Winterfeld, and his cast of characters that I got close with, getting set up the week for the game day experience. We went through moving all those guys around just because that's where the set was, and we didn't want to lose any RV spots. And through just sheer dumb luck, we were able to get everybody in the shot, everybody happy, including ESPN. And I got to meet those guys. And unfortunately, Dill passed away a few years ago, and his spot remained empty. And some of the guys up there, of course, Ron Clauden, Coug player, great supporter of athletics. He and a couple other guys asked me if I would be interested in moving into that spot. And so that's how I ended up in that front one. But it's been about 10 years now. It's a lot of fun. It can be, as you've seen the last season, it can be crazy over the evenings. It can be quiet. A win always helps keep everybody going. But as you know, even a win when it's freezing ass cold can still prevent everybody from going outside and going crazy. But the RV lot's a special place. It's interesting compared to a lot of other schools. There aren't many that allow us to roll in on Thursday evening and roll out Sunday. Usually it's 3 hours prior to kickoff, 2 hours post last whistle. And so Washington State really offers the fans a unique experience to be able to enjoy the RV lots and hang out at a football campus or a college campus and watch football for the weekend.
Yeah, it is pretty special. I'll plead the fifth on some of the things that I've seen over there, but that is one of the things that makes our tailgating culture so incredibly special. The people that come through there and the relationships that are cultivated there. I mean, people that they might only see each other 6 Saturdays or 6 weekends a year, but they are lifelong friends that then get invited to holidays and whatever else. It's something like that Coug culture out there, and the relationships is something like I've never seen in other places. It's genuine, it's authentic, and it's pretty special.
Yeah, no, it really is unique. Every university, I'm sure, has something. We experienced some of those things this last season. We went to Oxford and we saw what the Grove was like and everything else. Everybody has their own little slice of heaven, and I think the RV lot and just the tailgating in general at Washington State University is a great experience during the game day.
So, Wade, you've got one of the biggest hearts of any individual I've ever come across in my entire life, and because of that and your nature, you have so many relationships with former student athletes, current student athletes, alumni, coaches, whatever else, because you're always looking to help. One of those individuals that you've got extremely close to during your time was Coach Leach. Maybe if you'd be willing to, because Coach Leach is obviously such a legend here and nationwide in the industry, maybe if you would be willing to share a story about you and Coach Leach's time together.
Yeah, I think, one of the great things about Mike Leach, and I met him at a fundraiser. Our story started that I dared a buddy of mine who was sitting at the table with us. I dared his teenage son to see if he could shove the entire piece of cheesecake in his mouth without getting any on his shirt and everything. And I told him that I'd do it if he did it. And of course, Joey tried and got it done. And then it was my turn. And I believe, it was Jason Desser, who was emceeing at the time. He got a little mad at Mike and I because we were creating a commotion down there as I'm shoving this cheesecake in my mouth. But that's how we really kind of started hitting it off. And the great thing about Mike is I've been lucky enough to meet a lot of people just being who I am, whether it be in my industry with Washington State, with everything else. Mike was always looking for a new friend. You know what I mean? He really was. He wanted to listen to everybody. Couple great things about Mike. I remember one day, a quick story about how he meets people. I was picking him up in Key West. It was after SEC media days, and this is he moved on from Mississippi State. And of course, I show up to the Key West airport, and I've got a Mississippi State shirt on, and I've got Washington State sweat trunks on. And this young kid comes up to me and he says, "Hey," he says, "I see your shorts." He says, "You know that Coach Leach has a place here in Key West." I'm like, oh, no kidding, you know. And I talked to this kid and everything. And I sit there and talk to him about 20 minutes, and I learned that he's in the Navy and he's proposed to his fiance, and they've got about 6 days together before he ships out. And so they came down to Key West. Obviously, there's a big naval presence there. And so we're talking, and he graduated from the University of Tennessee, and he'll tell you that everybody in the SEC loves Mike Leach. They all hate Mississippi State, but everybody in the SEC loves Mike Leach. And so as I spoke with him, I said, "Hey, would you like to meet Coach?" He's like, "Are you serious?" I said, "Yeah, I'm picking him up." He's had a long day. He literally had to fly from Birmingham to Atlanta to Charlotte to Key West to get home, back from the media days of it. And so Mike got off the plane. I said, "Hey, this young man would like to meet you here." Mike probably spent 25 minutes having a conversation with this guy about him being in the Navy. Of course, his Mike's nephew Art being, I believe, is in the Marines, and just, you know, and this is 12:45 in the morning. Long day, 4 flights to get, you know, probably would have been quicker to drive from Birmingham, Alabama, to get down there. And he just sat and he loved what this kid was talking about and really wanted to converse with him. And that's really strange. You know, I think we all get busy and we all get tired. It's hard to dedicate some of the time that we have during the day because there's so many things to do. And Mike just kind of, you know, went that way. And that was I think that's an indictment of who he was as just a person. He enjoyed talking to people. As far as Washington State things, Mike and I were lucky enough to do some things that we didn't really, we didn't tell everybody. They weren't stories that need to be told. I would, Mike, of course, wasn't on social media. I mean, let's be honest. Mike could barely operate his phone, if I'm being truthful. I mean, the computer in the head coach's office, it was non-existent. It was a monitor and a keyboard, so it gave the impression that someone might use it, but no, definitely not. So the technology kind of peaked with frozen pizza for Mike Leach. I stole that line from someone, I don't remember it, but I would be on Facebook or whatever, diehard Cougs. We'd always kind of look at those types of things. And we came across a girl. Her name was Candy Tyree. And Candy is special needs. And she's been a Coug most of her life. Most of her family was Huskies. Actually, all of them were. She really connected with her, I believe it was her counselor when she was 14 years old. And, you know, why are you a Husky? Well, because everybody in the family is. Well, you don't want to be a Husky. You want to be a Coug, you know. I mean, being a Husky sucks, right? And so somebody from Washington State Cougar Athletics Center box with all the normal swag that we have, you know, the signed mini helmets and the footballs and everything else that we get out to people. And she was just absolutely ecstatic with this, you know. And I sent this video to Mike Leach. She says, "Well, who is this? We gotta figure out, you know, who she is." I said, well, hell, how the hell do I know? You know what I mean? And so reached out, and Candy had been she had been diagnosed with cancer, and she'd been going through treatment, and she was the equipment manager for her high school, and she was 36 at the time, ever since she was in high school. And the only games that she missed, football games, were during this time when she went through treatment. And so we had, you know, Mike gave her a call. We kind of talked to her, and her thing was, she told Mike, you know, she really wanted to come to the big game. And of course, the big game at that time was the Apple Cup, and this was the 18 season, of course, with Gardner and everybody in the crew. You know, we weren't successful in that game, but her and her family came down. It was a great time. A lot of Coug legends helped me out. Jack Thompson, Drew Bledsoe, Ernie Kent was the basketball coach at the time. He came by. Everybody came by to say hi. But Mike altered his path to the locker room after the crawl and came through the equipment room where Milton Neal, Josh Peets, they had everything set up for Candy to do a little bit of work prior to the Apple Cup game. And then Mike met with her family and her, and it was just an incredible day. And Mike made that special. And you look at that as like, here's a guy with one of the most important games of the season, just a lot of stuff going on. Still took time out of his day to make sure that, he made this girl feel special. And what's wild is it didn't end there. Of course, we have Mike's number now, and stuff. So Candy would FaceTime Mike, and Mike would answer, and then Mike would let me know. He's like, "Hey, I got to talk to Candy. She called me the other day and do this stuff." And that's just, like I said, once again, I use the term, it's the indictment of who he was. He didn't do things for show. And really, we didn't tell anybody these stories. These stories started coming out after he passed on, that we did these things. But it was more we'd find a way to try to make somebody happy or cheer them up. And believe it or not, that was Mike Leach. I mean, I don't know how, after becoming friends with him, it was more annoying half the time than it was, I'm being facetious, but yeah, Mike was, and I have tons of stories like that. I could do the rest of the season of these with a story every time about Mike Leach. Some of them, maybe, like I said, maybe for the after dark times, but Mike was a fantastic individual. And so were the people that helped me out with that. Like I said, Jack Thompson, Drew Bledsoe, Jason Gesser. I mean, there's just a ton of people in athletics that have been there before, have helped us out. And to tie it all in, that's why I support Washington State, is because those people are really special. Really, really special.
Yeah, I love that. I appreciate you sharing that. He was absolutely one of a kind individual. I appreciate the fact that you, Milton, Josh, Nate, Sarah, our equipment staff is the best. They're top notch, some of the best individuals, best workers. We're lucky to have them. We have a lot of really special individuals that have either come through here, are here, or that have played here. Tough to replicate that at other institutions. And Wade, we appreciate you being on here, man. Thanks for being generous with your time. As I mentioned earlier, you have one of the biggest hearts of anybody. You and Emily have been wonderful to me and my family. You're gracious to our student athletes. We couldn't do it without you. Thanks for being a Coug. I'm grateful you're a Coug, and thanks for joining us today.
You bet. Anytime, you guys. I appreciate it, and look forward to speaking with you next time. So go Cougs.
Go Cougs.
Well, a big thanks not only to Wade, but to all of our guests on this edition of the podcast, Kevin Tucker and Josh Jordan as well. And of course, a big thank you to our sponsor, BECU. Appreciate everyone tuning in. We'll talk to you again next week. You've been tuned in to the Inside WSU Athletics podcast. Go Cougs.
Go Cougs.
Go Cougs.